A 14-year-old girl stands on a granite hillside in Yosemite National Park, her camera dangling from her neck, the late afternoon sun filtering through sparse trees. Stacy Aras smiles, waving to a group of horseback riders watching her from a distance. They see her walk down the slope heading toward a shimmering lake a few hundred yards away. Minutes later, she's gone, no sound. No trace, only a camera lens cap, left alone in the underbrush. Weeks of searching, dozens of rangers, tracking dogs and helicopters scouring the area, but Stacy vanishes as if she never existed. The strangest part: the dogs trained to hunt relentlessly just circle aimlessly or lie down, as if her scent was never there. Stacy Aras's story isn't unique. From the remote trails of Yosemite to the dense forests of Great Smoky Mountains, dozens of people, children as young as 3 and seasoned hikers in their 70s, have disappeared in America's national parks and forests. These aren't just cases of people getting lost. They come with chilling, inexplicable details. Dogs failing to pick up scents, clothes folded neatly in impossible places, remains found where no one could reach. And a haunting silence from the National Park Service, NPS. These forests, these misty lakes, these silent trails, they seem to hold a secret no one wants to reveal. Let's go back to the beginning, to a late-night knock on a private investigator's door in Yosemite. A ranger, his voice tense, whispers that something strange is happening not just here, but across national parks. There are disappearances we can't explain, he says. And after 7 to 10 days, it all just stops. No more searches, no more news. The investigator, a former member of MUFON, an organization studying UFO phenomena, starts to see a pattern. Geographic clusters near water victims, ranging from vulnerable children to brilliant adults, and a cover-up from the very agency meant to protect us. Today we'll dive into these stories, starting in the wilds of Yosemite, where Stacy Aras vanished, and moving to the snow-covered trails of Mount Rainier, where a trailblazing hiker disappeared like a ghost. We'll meet grieving families, secretive rangers, and clues that'll make your skin crawl. But first, let's get to know the people behind these vanishings, their dreams, their final moments, and the eerie silence that followed. The eerie setting of national parks. Yosemite National Park, where Stacy Aras disappeared in 1981, isn't just a tourist haven with towering granite cliffs and thundering waterfalls. At 9,500 feet, the area around the lake where Stacy vanished is isolated, where the wind, howling through the rocks, can make you feel watched. Narrow trails snake through pine forests and past deep, still lakes, creating a landscape both breathtaking and unsettling. Yosemite, like other national parks such as Great Smoky Mountains or Mount Rainier, is a place where humans feel small against nature. But something in these woods feels more than natural. Whispers among rangers speak of unexplainable vanishings, clues that lead nowhere, and a silence from the NPS that makes you wonder, what are they hiding? America's national parks and forests span millions of acres, from the rocky peaks of Rocky Mountain to the dense groves of Sequoia. Their vastness and isolation make them perfect for mysteries. No surveillance cameras, no cell signal in many areas, and sometimes even highly trained rangers, schooled at federal centers, can't find a trace of the missing. Harsh weather, torrential rain, heavy snow, or unusual heat often plays a role, as if nature itself is erasing evidence. In Strathcona National Park, Canada, in July 2014, unseasonable heat worried searchers looking for Sylvia apes. On the Appalachian Trail, heavy rain on July 22, 2013, turned the path into a muddy maze where Geraldine Marge vanished. The culture around these parks adds to the unease. Visitors come for peace, but tales of vanishings breed fear. Some whisper of supernatural forces, UFOs, cryptic creatures, or an invisible claw machine targeting the lost. Others suspect the NPS with Freedom of Information Act FOIA requests denied and exorbitant fees quoted to deter inquiry. One ranger told the investigator, "There's a lack of integrity from top to bottom." These words, paired with the NPS's silence, create an atmosphere of distrust, as if the forests themselves guard a dark secret. The victims and their dreams. Let's start with Stacy Orris, the 14-year-old who vanished in Yosemite. Stacy was a vibrant girl who loved photography, dreaming of capturing nature's beauty. On that fateful day, she was with her father and a group of 6 horseback riders at remote cabins deep in the park. After changing clothes, she decided to walk a few hundred yards to a lake to take photos, a normal act for a nature-loving teen. Her father and the group saw her head down the rocky slope. A 72-year-old man sat nearby watching her go. No one heard a scream, a rustle, or anything unusual. Stacy didn't just vanish, she seemed erased from existence, leaving only a tiny lens cap in a forested area near the lake. Next is Sylvia Apes, 69, a seasoned hiker in Strathcona National Park, Canada. On July 11, 2014, Sylvia signed the register at Paradise Meadows, a stunning area of barren peaks and sweeping views. In peak health, described as tough as nails by search teams, Sylvia knew every trail and ridge. Yet she vanished after being last seen near Castle Craig, leaving her phone, hiking stick camera, and backpack scattered along the trail as if she discarded them on purpose. Why? How could someone like Sylvia, with experience and preparation, simply disappear? Karen Sykes, 70, was a legend in Mount Rainier National Park. Dubbed the trail guru by the Seattle Times, she authored books on hiking safety and trekked twice weekly. On June 18, 2014, she hiked the Ojai Lakes Trail with a friend. When her friend stopped to rest, Karen pressed on, promising to return. That was the last time she was seen alive. 3 days later, a helicopter found her body in a remote ravine at 6,200 feet. Dead from hypothermia, an unthinkable end for someone who knew Mount Rainier like the back of her hand. Geraldine Marge, 66, was a veteran hiker chasing her dream of conquering the Appalachian Trail. With her husband George, she'd covered 950 of the trail's 150 miles. On July 22, 2013, she texted George saying she was 8 miles from their meeting point and would arrive on time. But when George reached the rendezvous, Geraldine was gone. That day's heavy rain turned the trail treacherous, but Geraldine was experienced. She wasn't one to make mistakes. So what happened? Jared Atadero, a 3-year-old boy, is a particularly heartbreaking case. On October 2, 1999, he was with his sister and a group of adults at a fish camp near the Poudre River, Colorado. Curious and energetic, Jared ran ahead on a trail. 2 fishermen saw him chatted about bears and let him go on a decision that chills in hindsight. Jared vanished, and 4 years later, in 2003, his remains were found 500 feet up a mountain with clothes and shoes nearly pristine, as if fresh from a store. Talisa Patrick, 30, was a psychologist at Western Michigan University. On December 5, 2013, she drove on I-94 near Lake Michigan, just a mile from the lake. Her car was found in a ditch with her wallet, credit cards, and cash untouched. Dogs tracked her from the car to the roadside, then stopped. 5 months later, a fisherman found her body in a lake that had been thoroughly searched by the FBI and local divers. How did they miss her? Letitia Marie Faust, 50, was a dedicated pharmaceutical saleswoman. On December 9, 2009, she drove along Virginia's Blue Ridge Parkway to buy medicine for her mother. Her car was found in a remote area with her wallet, food, and cash undisturbed. A pair of sandals sat near a half-acre lake. Searchers used 4 robotic cameras and 3 dive teams, but found nothing. What made Letitia stop and vanish in the cold rain? These victims weren't just names. They were people with dreams, families, and lives. Stacy wanted to capture Yosemite's beauty. Karen shared her trail knowledge. Geraldine dreamed of finishing the Appalachian Trail. Jared just wanted to play with his sister. Talika and Letitia were brilliant women devoted to their work and families. Yet they all share one thing. They vanished under inexplicable circumstances, and the clues left behind only deepen the mystery. Initial hypotheses. What could explain these vanishings? Let's explore a few possibilities, but fair warning, none fully make sense. Natural accidents. Maybe Stacy, Sylvia, Karen, and others got lost, fell, or succumbed to hypothermia. National parks are dangerous with rugged terrain and harsh weather. But if these were accidents, why didn't the dogs pick up scents? Why did Karen Sykes, a trail expert, die of hypothermia in a place she knew intimately? Abduction. A predator could have targeted these victims, exploiting the park's isolation. But how could someone abduct people in remote areas like Yosemite or Mount Rainier without leaving a trace? And why leave folded clothes or scattered gear? Supernatural forces. As a former MUFON investigator, I can't rule this out. Some talk of UFOs or an invisible claw machine selecting victims. Details like pristine shoes after 4 winters or dogs failing to track could point to something beyond our understanding. But is there really a supernatural force in these woods? NPS cover-up, the NPS's refusal to share data $1 million FOIA fees, and confrontational attitude suggest they're hiding something. Are they protecting park reputations or covering up a larger issue? Geographic patterns. The investigator found 52 clusters of vanishings near water across North America. What is it about these areas, lakes, rivers, streams, that draws disappearances, personal perspective? I can't shake the feeling that a veil of secrecy hangs over these forests. The NPS, with its highly trained rangers and vast resources, should have a list of the missing and be transparent. Instead, they throw up walls, exorbitant FOIA fees calls from agents, questioning investigations, and eerie silence after 7 to 10 days of searching. I believe something bigger is at play, perhaps a mix of an unexplained phenomenon and deliberate concealment. These woods aren't just dangerous, they're hiding a truth the NPS doesn't want us to find. After Stacy Aras's final wave on that Yosemite hillside, as she walked down the granite slope, the stories of these vanishings turned darker and stranger. The remote trails, misty lakes, and deep forests of America's national parks aren't just where people disappear, they're where clues seem to defy logic. From a lone camera lens cap to shoes pristine after 4 brutal winters, the traces left behind don't lead to answers. They deepen the mystery. Let's walk through each case, each clue, and the desperate attempts to find a truth that the NPS seems determined to keep buried. Timeline of the vanishings. Let's return to Stacy Aras, the 14-year-old who vanished on October 17, 1981, in Yosemite National Park. Stacy camera around her neck was with her father and 6 horseback riders at remote cabins at 500 feet. After changing clothes, she decided to walk a few hundred yards to a nearby lake to take photos. A 72-year-old man in the group sat on a rock watching her descend the slope. Others saw her go, but no one heard a scream or anything unusual. Minutes later, Stacy was gone. Weeks of searching followed, with dozens of rangers tracking dogs and helicopters. The result, just a camera lens cap found in underbrush near the lake, as if placed there deliberately. Stacy, vibrant and full of life, had vanished into thin air. In Strathcona National Park, Canada, on July 11, 2014, Sylvia Apes, a 69-year-old seasoned hiker, signed the register at Paradise Meadows. Last seen near Castle Craig, a barren peak with sweeping views, Sylvia was in top health. and knew the trails like her own backyard. Yet, she disappeared. Search and rescue SAR teams found her belongings scattered across a mountainside, a phone here, a hiking stick there, a camera a few yards away, and finally her backpack. Paul Barry, the SAR commander, called it an emotional roller coaster. Each clue seemed to promise they were close to finding Sylvia, but led nowhere. 50 searchers' dogs and helicopters with infrared radar searched until July 21st, but Sylvia was gone. At Mount Rainier National Park on June 18, 2014, Karen Sykes, 70, hiked the Ojai Lakes Trail with a friend. Known as the Trail Guru, Karen wrote books on hiking safety and trekked twice weekly. When her friend stopped to rest, Karen went on promising to return. She never did. That night, her friend alerted rangers, triggering a 3-day search. On day 3, a helicopter spotted Karen's body in a remote ravine at 200 feet near Boundary Creek, dead from hypothermia. An impossible fate for someone who knew Mount Rainier intimately. The NPS described the area as difficult to access and rarely traveled. How did a trail expert end up in an unfamiliar ravine descending a snowy ridge on the Appalachian Trail? July 22, 2013, Geraldine Marge, 66, was nearing the end of her 150-mile dream. She texted her husband George saying she was 8 miles from their meeting point and would arrive on time. But heavy rain that day turned the trail into a muddy labyrinth. When George arrived, Geraldine was gone. The Maine Warden Service launched a 3-week search with dozens of volunteers and experts. They called it Mysterious No Trace, No Clue, No Backpack or Scrap of Clothing. Geraldine's phone was dead, possibly from a drained battery or damage. A TV show later aired a special on the case highlighting the searchers' frustration. Geraldine, a seasoned hiker, had vanished as if she'd never been there. Jared Atadero, a 3-year-old, disappeared on October 2, 1999, near the Poudre River, Colorado. With his sister and a group of adults at a nearby fish camp, Jared ran ahead on a trail. 2 fishermen met him, talked about bears, and let him go, a chilling decision in retrospect. A massive search began with dogs, helicopters, and hundreds of volunteers. But a bizarre incident occurred. An Air Force helicopter crashed early in the search, disrupting efforts. 4 years later, in 2003, a hiker found Jared's remains 500 feet up a mountain, miles from where he vanished. Strangely, his shoes, always loose because he didn't tie them, were nearly pristine. His pants were inside out, a tooth sat on a log, and his skull was upside down by a tree. After 4 Colorado winters, how were these items intact? Talisa Patrick, 30. A psychologist vanished on December 5, 2013, on I-94 near Lake Michigan. Driving after failing to find a hotel room, her car was found in a ditch with wallet cards and cash untouched. Dogs tracked her from the car to the roadside, then stopped. The FBI joined the search, unusual for an adult case, but 3 days of searching a nearby lake found nothing. 5 months later, a fisherman found her body in that same lake. How did divers and dogs miss her? Letitia Marie Faust, 50, disappeared on December 9, 2009, on Virginia's Blue Ridge Parkway. Driving to buy medicine for her mother, her car was found in a remote area with wallet, food, and cash intact. A pair of sandals sat between the car and a half-acre lake. Searchers used 4 robotic cameras and 3 dive teams, but found nothing. Stranger still, her car window was down in the cold rain and snow, as if she'd stopped to hear or see something. Bizarre clues. These vanishings aren't just terrifying. Because people disappear, they're eerie because of the clues left behind. Or rather, the clues that lead nowhere. Let's break them down. Scattered belongings. In Sylvia Apes' case, her phone, hiking stick, camera, and backpack were found at different spots on a mountainside, as if she discarded them deliberately. But Sylvia was experienced. Why would she do that? SAR Commander Paul Barry said these clues make you think you're on the right track, but they give you nothing. Odd clothing. In Great Smoky Mountains, a Boy Scout vanished in winter with a foot of snow. 8 days later, his backpack and clothes were found neatly folded on a rock in a river, an inexplicable scene and deadly cold. At Crater Lake, a ranger found jeans with an open belt zipper down and a tibia bone nearby, but no shoes or other traces. Impossible remains. Jared Atadero was found 4 years later, 500 feet up a mountain. Even fit adults would struggle to climb. His shoes, loose from untied laces, were nearly new. His pants were inside out a tooth on a log, his skull upside down. After 4 harsh winters, how were these items pristine? His father, Alan, insisted no animal dragged him up there with his shoes still on. Useless tracking dogs. In 95% of recorded cases, dogs trained to hunt circle aimlessly, lie down or stare at handlers as if no scent exists. The investigator who worked with tracking dogs in law enforcement stressed, these dogs live to track. When they don't, it means there's nothing there. Water connection. Most vanishings occur near water lakes, rivers, streams, or oceans. Talika Patrick vanished near Lake Michigan. Letitia Faust near a half-acre lake. Jared Atadero near the Poudre River. Stacy R.S. near a Yosemite lake. The investigator identified 52 clusters across North America, concentrated along the coasts and Great Lakes, all near water. What is it about water that links these cases? These clues aren't just strange. They seem designed to confound investigators. A lens cap doesn't point to Stacy's location. Pristine shoes don't explain Jared's 4-year absence. A body in a searched lake raises more questions than answers. Is someone or something leaving these traces on purpose? The investigation and obstructions. When someone vanishes in a national park, you'd expect a swift, transparent response from the NPS. An agency with rangers trained at federal centers surpassing many local police forces. But these cases show the opposite. Stacy Aris's search lasted weeks with dogs, helicopters, and dozens of rangers. After finding only the lens cap, efforts stopped. No public reports, no further updates. The investigator filing a FOIA request got a call from an NPS lawyer asking, "Why do you want this information?" When he insisted that wasn't a valid question, the lawyer said, "We've already denied your request. You don't qualify because your book isn't in enough libraries." When he asked for a list of missing persons from Yosemite, the NPS claimed they didn't have one, relying on organizational memory. They quoted $34,000 for Yosemite data and $1.4 million for the entire system. Really, a federal agency doesn't track missing persons. Sylvia Apes's case hit similar roadblocks. The Strathcona SAR team worked tirelessly, but scattered clues led to dead ends. Paul Barry admitted, "It felt like we were close, but it was nothing. It's mysterious." For Karen Sykes, the NPS only found her body via helicopter, but couldn't explain why she entered an inaccessible ravine. Geraldine Marge's case saw the Maine Warden Service deploy every resource, but 3 weeks yielded nothing. Jared Atadero's case exposed glaring errors. His father, Alan, learned the search team used the wrong scent item, a pair of pants not Jared's, for 3 days. When expert volunteers arrived, Larimer County blocked them, leaving Alan baffled. Why push away people who want to help? Another oddity, an Air Force helicopter crashed early in the search, disrupting efforts. Talisa Patrick and Letitia Marie Faust highlighted further failures. The FBI's involvement in Talika's case was unusual. Yet 3 days of lake searches found nothing until her body appeared 5 months later. For Letitia, 3 dive teams and 4 robotic cameras found no trace in the lake near her car. The investigator didn't stop there. He dug through archives, interviewed rangers, and contacted victims' families. A former NPS special agent revealed I was investigating a major corruption case in the parks, but was told to stand down. There's a lack of integrity from top to bottom. Another ranger couple was fired after filing a FOIA request about park budgets. These details fueled the investigator's suspicion the NPS isn't just opaque, they may be hiding something big. Hypotheses and personal perspective. The bizarre clues and NPS obstructions lead to several hypotheses, but none fully fit. Natural accidents. Victims could have gotten lost fallen or died of hypothermia. Karen's hypothermia and rugged terrain support this. But why no dog scents? Why folded clothes or scattered gear? Abduction. A predator could exploit park isolation. No scent suggests quick removal. But no violence or witnesses and odd clues don't fit typical crime. Supernatural forces. Folded clothes, pristine shoes, and no scents could point to something otherworldly. But lack of evidence makes this shaky. NPS cover-up. Refusals, high FOIA fees, and confrontations suggest concealment. But this doesn't explain bizarre clues. Geographic patterns. 52 water-adjacent clusters are undeniable. But what causes the vanishing's personal perspective? I can't stop thinking about the NPS's silence. A federal agency. With vast resources, claims no missing persons list. They demand millions for public data. Something's deeply wrong. I believe these vanishings involve a larger pattern, perhaps environmental factors and deliberate concealment. These clues from Stacy's lens, capped to Jared's shoes, feel like whispers from a mystery we can't yet grasp. The strange clues from Stacy Aris's lens cap to Jared Atadero's pristine shoes have raised more questions than answers. In the wild forests of America's national parks, where wind howls through trails and shadows seem to swallow sound. These vanishings aren't just mysteries. They're open wounds for those left behind. Families, friends, and communities grapple with indescribable grief, while the NPS's eerie silence and emerging patterns fuel growing suspicion. Something is happening in these woods, and it's more than just people disappearing. Let's dive into the family's pain, the community's response, and new clues pointing to a larger, darker secret. The family's pain. Imagine you're Alan Atadero, father of 3-year-old Jared, who vanished near the Pudra River on October 2nd, 1999. You let your son join his sister and a group of adults at a fish camp, thinking it's a safe short outing. But Jared runs ahead on a trail, and minutes later, he's gone. You spend days at the search headquarters clinging to hope. Then you learn the team used the wrong scent item, a pair of pants not Jared's, for 3 days. I was floored, Alan later said, his voice raw with anger and grief. They've got a 3-year-old missing and they can't even use the right clothes for the dogs. The failures didn't end there. When expert volunteers arrived, Larimer County blocked them, leaving Alan stunned. Why are they pushing away people who want to help? Don't they want to find my son? 4 years later, when Jared's remains were found 500 feet up a mountain, Alan faced another shock. His son's shoes, always loose from untied laces, were nearly pristine. His pants were inside out a tooth on a log, his skull upside down by a tree. Alan, a father who lost his world, insisted no animal drag Jared up there with his shoes still on. This doesn't make sense. His pain isn't just losing his son, it's the helplessness against inexplicable clues and the NPS's lack of answers. George Marge, husband of Geraldine Marge, lived a similar nightmare. Geraldine, 66, was a veteran hiker chasing her Appalachian Trail dream. George was her support, waiting at rendezvous points with supplies. On July 22, 2013, she texted that she was 8 miles away and would arrive on time. But as George waited in pouring rain that blurred the trail, Geraldine never came. He called the main warden service, sparking a 3-week search. Not a single clue was found. No backpack, no clothes, no trace. George, who trekked 950 miles with his wife, collapsed emotionally. She knew the trail like she knew her way home, he told searchers, his voice breaking. She couldn't just disappear like that. But she did, and George lives with the unanswerable. What happened to the wife he loved for 32 years? Talisa Patrick's family, grieving the 30-year-old psychologist who vanished near Lake Michigan on December 5, 2013, faced similar torment. When her car was found in a ditch on I-94 with wallet, cards, and cash untouched, they demanded answers. Dogs tracked her to the roadside, then stopped. The FBI's involvement was odd for an adult case, but 3 days of lake searches found nothing. 5 months later, a fisherman found Talisa's body in that same lake. Her family was stunned. Why didn't the dogs find her? Why didn't the divers see her? They requested the autopsy report to understand her body's condition after 5 months underwater, but got no response. Their pain isn't just losing Talisa, it's the suspicion that something is being hidden. Letitia Marie Faust, 50, left her mother in despair when she vanished on the Blue Ridge Parkway on December 9, 2009. Letitia, a dedicated saleswoman, called her mother after buying medicine, promising to be home soon. She never arrived. When her car was found in a remote area with everything intact and sandals near a half-acre lake, her elderly mother, reliant on her daughter, broke down. "She'd never leave me like this," she told police, her voice trembling. The search with robotic cameras and dive teams found nothing, and Letitia's family lives with the void of unanswered questions. What made her stop and vanish in the freezing rain? Community response and media's role. The communities around these vanishings were shaken, drawn into searches, and left with lingering questions. For Jared Atadero, hundreds of volunteers, including expert searchers, flocked to Colorado. But Larimer County's obstruction angered many. Some who traveled hundreds of miles to help were turned away, prompting locals to ask, what are they protecting Jared's case? Drew heavy Colorado media coverage detailing the search and Alan's pain. But after 7 to 10 days like clockwork, the news went silent, leaving families and communities adrift. Geraldine Marge's disappearance rocked the Appalachian Trail hiking community. A symbol of perseverance, her vanishing spurred fellow hikers to form unofficial search groups, but they found nothing. A TV show on the main warden service later aired a special capturing the searchers' frustration. "We did everything we could, but it's like she dissolved," a team member said. The show revived public interest, but underscored the authorities' helplessness. Karen Sykes' loss stunned Mount Rainier's hiking community. A trail icon, her death from hypothermia in an unfamiliar ravine was unthinkable. Karen knew Rainier like her own home, a friend told the Seattle Times. She was the last person who'd get lost. Hikers began sharing stories of park dangers, some avoiding solo treks. The media shaped public perception, but highlighted the NPS's opacity. A Huffington Post article, "Don't Be Last in Line," noted a pattern of vanishings among those at the front or back of groups like Jared or the Great Smoky Mountains Boy Scout. It raised awareness, but fueled conspiracies from supernatural forces to NPS cover-ups. Yet, after initial coverage, the media often went quiet, leaving families in the dark. Geographic patterns and new hypotheses. As the investigator dug deeper, a chilling pattern emerged. 52 vanishing clusters across North America, concentrated along the coasts, Rockies, and Great Lakes, mostly near water. Stacy Arras vanished near Yosemite Lake. Talika Patrick near Lake Michigan. Letitia Faust near a half-acre lake. Jared Atadero near the Poudre River. Sylvia Apes near Strathcona's mountain lakes. Even Karen Sykes found in the ravine was near Boundary Creek. These clusters aren't random, they're tied to geography and water. But why? This pattern sparks new hypotheses. Hazardous environments areas near water, slippery terrain. Strong currents or dense fog could cause accidents. But this doesn't explain dogs failing to track or bodies appearing in searched lakes. Supernatural forces. The investigator's MUFON background keeps this on the table. Folded clothes, pristine shoes, and no sense could suggest an otherworldly force. But is there really something supernatural at play? NPS cover-up. The NPS's refusal to share data million-dollar FOIA fees and confrontational stance suggests they're protecting a secret. A former agent's claim of top-to-bottom corruption fuels suspicion. Are they hiding park safety issues or something bigger, personal perspective? I can't stop thinking about these geographic clusters. 52 areas, mostly near water from Yosemite to the Great Lakes. What makes people vanish there? And why does the NPS with highly trained rangers claim no missing persons list? When an NPS agent told the investigator, "You'll never get Stacey Aris's information," it sent chills down my spine. Are they protecting visitors or a secret we're not meant to know? Families like Allen's, George's, and Talika's deserve answers, but the NPS's silence only deepens their pain and suspicion. The 52 vanishing clusters from the East Coast to the West, from the Great Lakes to the Rockies, have revealed a bigger mystery, but they've only led to deeper questions. In the wild forests of America's national parks, where shadows seem to hide every clue, and the wind whispers secrets through the trails, the disappearances of Stacey Aris, Sylvia Apes, Karen Sykes, and others aren't just tragedies, they're unsolvable puzzles. Why do tracking dogs circle or lie down in 95% of cases? Why are clothes folded neatly, shoes pristine after years, or bodies found in places already searched? And most crucially, why does the NPS, with its vast resources and elite rangers, refuse to share data, quoting million-dollar FOIA fees and sending agents to question investigators? Let's dissect each hypothesis, probe the lingering questions, and offer a personal take on the mystery haunting these woods. Analyzing the hypotheses. To understand what's happening, we must consider every angle from the plausible to the outlandish. But fair warning, no hypothesis fully explains the chilling details of these vanishings. Natural accidents description. Victims like Stacey, Sylvia, or Karen could have suffered accidents falling off cliffs, getting lost, or dying of hypothermia. National parks are treacherous, with rugged terrain and brutal weather. Karen Sykes died of hypothermia in a remote ravine. A snowy ridge or slippery stream could explain some cases. Strengths. Some remains are found in hazardous areas like Karen's ravine or Jared Atadero's 500-foot-high mountain. Harsh weather, rain in Geraldine's case, snow in Great Smoky Mountains, or heat in Strathcona raises accident risks. Weaknesses. This doesn't account for bizarre details. Why no dog scents in 95% of cases? Why did Karen, a trail expert, die in an unfamiliar ravine? How did 3-year-old Jared climb a mountain? Adults struggle with folded clothes, pristine shoes, and scattered gear don't fit natural accidents. Unanswered questions. Why did experienced people like Sylvia or Geraldine make basic mistakes? Why were clues like Stacey's lens cap or Sylvia's backpack left in seemingly deliberate spots? Abduction or crime description. A predator, individual, or group could target victims exploiting park isolation. Remote areas like Yosemite or Mount Rainier are ideal for unseen crimes. Strengths. Sudden vanishings and no sense suggest quick removal, possibly by vehicle. Talika Patrick's case with her car in a ditch and body appearing later could fit this. Weaknesses. No signs of violence, no reliable witnesses, no criminal evidence. How could abductions occur in places like Yosemite's 9 500-foot heights without a trace? Folded clothes and scattered gear don't match typical predator behavior. Unanswered questions. Who could abduct in such remote areas undetected? Why leave odd clues like Sylvia's scattered phone and backpack? Supernatural forces description. The investigator's MUFON background allows this possibility an otherworldly force like UFOs or a cryptic claw machine targeting victims. Strengths. Bizarre details: dogs failing to track folded clothes, pristine shoes, bodies in searched areas defy science. Jared's remains 500 feet up with new shoes fit this eerily. Water-adjacent clusters could suggest an environmental phenomenon. Weaknesses. No scientific evidence or credible witnesses of UFOs or creatures. Clues could have other explanations like environment or concealment. Unanswered questions. Why would a supernatural force target specific victims like kids or brilliant adults? Why leave physical clues like lens caps or shoes? NPS cover-up description. The NPS and U.S. Forest Service may hide information to protect park reputations or conceal larger issues like illegal activities. Refusals to share data: million-dollar FOIA fees and confrontational agents suggest systematic concealment. Strengths. The NPS's opacity is undeniable. Agent YU questioned the investigator's motives. A former agent revealed being stopped from probing corruption, citing top-to-bottom issues. High FOIA costs and no missing persons list raise red flags. Weaknesses: this doesn't explain bizarre clues like folded clothes or no dog scents. What does the NPS gain by hiding vanishings? Unanswered questions. What are they protecting? Park image, illegal operations, or an unexplainable phenomenon? Geographic and environmental patterns description. Vanishings cluster in 52 areas, mostly near water lakes, rivers, streams, oceans. These regions from Yosemite to the Great Lakes share geographic and environmental traits. Water or terrain could play a role. Strengths. The pattern is clear across dozens of cases. Stacy near a Yosemite lake, Tolika near Lake Michigan. Letitia near a half-acre lake. Water is a constant. It could obscure traces. Weaknesses: this doesn't pinpoint causes. Why no dog scents? Why odd clue placements? Unanswered questions. What about water-adjacent areas? Terrain currents or an unknown factor causes vanishings. Lingering questions. These hypotheses leave gaping holes. Here are the core questions still unanswered. Why do dogs fail to track in 95% of cases? Trained dogs circle, lie down, or stare blankly. The investigator experienced with tracking dogs said, "These dogs live to hunt. When they don't, there's nothing there." How can a person vanish without a scent? Why the bizarre clues: clothes folded on a river rock in Great Smoky Mountains. Jared's pristine shoes after 4 winters. Sylvia's scattered gear. Stacy's lone lens cap. These seem staged to confuse. Why the NPS secrecy: a federal agency claims no missing persons list, relying on organizational memory. They quote $34,000 for Yosemite data, $1.4 million for all parks. The investigator faced calls from Agent YU and NPS lawyers. A former agent spoke of halted corruption probes. What's behind these walls? What do the geographic clusters mean? 52 water-adjacent clusters aren't random. Does water hide traces, or is something else at play? Why such varied victims, from 3-year-old Jared to veteran hikers like Sylvia and Karen? Victims share no clear traits, except vanishing in wilderness. Is something targeting both the vulnerable and the brilliant? Personal perspective. I've spent hours poring over these cases, and I can't shake the sense we're facing a mystery beyond our grasp. The odd clues: folded clothes, pristine shoes, bodies in searched areas, suggest more than accidents or crimes. But the NPS's silence chills me most. A federal agency with elite rangers claims no missing persons list. They demand millions for public data. When a former agent speaks of top-to-bottom corruption, I wonder, what are they hiding? I believe these vanishings tie to an unrecorded phenomenon, perhaps environmental, like water-adjacent areas combined with deliberate NPS concealment. Maybe they fear public panic or park reputational damage. Whatever it is, families like Allen's, George's, and Talika's deserve the truth. Social impact and broader meaning. These vanishings aren't just personal tragedies, they question the NPS's duty, park safety, and our primal fear of nature. National parks symbolize America's beauty, drawing millions yearly. But when people like Stacy Sylvia or Jared vanish without a trace, we ask, are we safe? The NPS's opacity denied. FOIA's confrontational calls sparks conspiracies from UFOs to park crimes. Some even claim the NPS lures kids through educational programs, amplifying fears about once idyllic places. The fear of vanishing in the wild taps into a universal dread, helplessness against an unseen force. These stories echo mysteries like the Bermuda Triangle or Dyatlov Pass, where odd details make us question nature's secrets. The water-adjacent clusters, folded clothes, and useless dogs fuel online forums. Books like Missing 411 and heated discussions among mystery fans. But for victims' families, this isn't entertainment, it's an unending wound. After all the strange clues, desperate searches, and families' tears, we stand before a mystery still unsolved. In the deep forests of America's national parks, from Yosemite to Great Smoky Mountains, from Mount Rainier to the Appalachian Trail, dozens of people, from 14-year-old Stacey Aris to veteran hiker Karen Sykes, have vanished, leaving traces that defy logic. A lone camera lens cap clothes folded neatly in a river-pristine shoes after 4 winters and bodies in places already searched. The unanswered questions, why dogs fail to track, why the NPS builds walls of silence, and what links 52 water-adjacent clusters still haunt us. Today, let's look back at this journey, reflect on the profound meaning of these vanishings, and search for the truth hiding in the shadows of the wild. Case summary. Our journey began with Stacey Aris, the 14-year-old who vanished in Yosemite on October 17, 1981, leaving only a lens cap in the underbrush. We walked trails where Sylvia, age 69, left her phone, hiking stick, and backpack scattered across Strathcona's mountainside. Karen Sykes, the trail guru, died of hypothermia in a Mount Rainier ravine she shouldn't have reached. Geraldine Marge, 66, vanished on the Appalachian Trail after texting her husband. Jared Atadero, 3, was found 4 years later, 500 feet up a mountain, his shoes nearly new. Talisa Patrick appeared in a lake already searched, and Letitia Marie Faust left sandals near a Virginia lake, her body never found. These vanishings aren't just chilling for the loss, they're eerie for their details. Dogs failing in 95% of cases. Neatly folded clothes, scattered gear like a taunt, remains in unreachable places. Searches, though massive with dogs, helicopters, and volunteers, halt after 7 to 10 days, leaving families in darkness. The NPS, tasked with protecting visitors, refuses missing persons lists, quotes million-dollar FOIA fees, and questions investigators' motives. A former NPS agent spoke of top-to-bottom corruption, hinting at a deeper secret. The investigator, a former MUFON member, found 52 vanishing clusters near water lakes, rivers, streams, oceans spanning coasts, Rockies, and Great Lakes. This pattern, alongside hypotheses of accidents, abductions, supernatural forces, and NPS cover-ups, only deepens the mystery. Yet, no matter how deep we dig, the truth remains elusive, a shadow in the fog of these forests. Social significance and lasting impact. These vanishings aren't just personal tragedies, they challenge the NPS's duty, park safety, and our primal fear of the wild. National parks are icons of American beauty, drawing millions for peace. But when Stacey, Jared, or Geraldine vanish without a trace, we question, are we safe? The NPS's secrecy, denied FOIA's confrontational calls, fuels conspiracies from UFOs to park crimes. Some claim the NPS lures kids via educational programs, turning havens into places of dread. The family's pain is a wound that never heals. Alan Atadero lives with questions about his son's pristine shoes and the search's wrong scent item. George Marge waits for any clue about his wife, even a scrap of clothing. Talisa Patrick's family seeks autopsy details met with silence. Letitia Faust's mother, reliant on her daughter, grapples with loss and unanswered questions. Communities feel the ripple effects. Appalachian trail hikers avoid solo treks after Geraldine. Mount Rainier's hiking community mourns Karen, their inspiration. In Colorado, Jared's case sparked distrust in Larimer County for blocking volunteers. The media, initially vocal, goes silent after 7 to 10 days, leaving families adrift. A Huffington Post piece, "Don't Be Last in Line," highlighted front or back group vanishings, raising awareness but stoking fears. The long-term impact reshapes how we view national parks, turning them from refuges to potential dangers. Online forums, books like Missing 411, and YouTube videos spread these stories, likening them to the Bermuda Triangle or Dyatlov Pass. The fear of vanishing taps into a universal dread powerlessness against an unseen force where even the brightest and strongest can disappear. I've spent countless nights thinking about these cases, and I can't shake the feeling we're touching a mystery beyond our understanding. The strange clues, dogs failing folded clothes, bodies in searched areas, hint at more than accidents or crimes. But the NPS's silence chills me most. A federal agency with elite rangers claims no missing persons list. They demand millions for public data when a former agent speaks of top-to-bottom corruption. I wonder, what are they hiding? I believe the truth lies in a mix of environmental factors like water-adjacent clusters and deliberate NPS concealment. Maybe they fear panic or park reputational damage. Whatever it is, families like Alan's, George's, and Talika's deserve answers. These woods aren't just dangerous, they're guarding a secret we must uncover. This mystery doesn't end here. I want to hear your thoughts. What happened to Stacy Aris, Sylvia Apes, Jared Atadero, and the others? Was it an accident, a predator, something supernatural? Or is the NPS hiding a truth? What do the 52 water-adjacent clusters mean to you? Drop your theories in the comments. Your idea could be the key to cracking this case. If you've heard of similar vanishings or experienced something odd in a national park, share your story. Together we can dig deeper, chasing the truth lurking in those woods. Don't forget to subscribe for more unsolved mysteries, from remote trails to small towns with dark secrets. If this story gripped you, share it with friends. Someone out there might hold the final puzzle piece. Picture yourself as Alan Atadero, standing on the mountain where your son's remains were found, staring at pristine shoes and wondering, how is this possible? Or as George Marge, waiting in the rain on the Appalachian Trail for a wife who'll never arrive. These stories remind us that nature isn't just beautiful, it's full of terrifying mysteries waiting for someone brave enough to unravel them. The truth is out there, hidden in the fog, and maybe, just maybe, we'll find it one day.